Just ahead on American Black Journal, a longtime Detroit television reporter has written a book about his career. Al Allen is here to share some memories of his many years in front of the camera. Plus, the Detroit Sports Zone welcomes a new class of honorees to its high school Hall of Fame. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts right now.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
For nearly 100 years, Ally has been a part of Detroit, and we give back by volunteering and donating in our community. We have a commitment to diversity and increasing economic mobility in our hometown. At Ally, we're dedicated to doing it right every single day.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Chastity Pratt-Dawsey, sitting in for Stephen Henderson. My first guest was one of the most well-known faces in Detroit television news for nearly 30 years. Al Allen was a fixture on Fox 2's morning show before retiring in 2012. Now he's written a memoir titled We're Standing By. In the book, Al shares details on stories he covered, from crime and scandals to celebrations and snowstorms. He also discusses his family life and passion for mentoring African-American journalists. It's a pleasure to welcome Al Allen to American Black Journal.
Chastity, thank you so much, and I'm so glad to be here. It's nice to visit places and get known on television all over again. You know, it's 5 years ago I retired, but now people say, oh, he's still alive. He's still around here. So yes.
Cut it out, Al Allen. I have seen you around town, in the crowded places, in Target. You are still everywhere.
Oh yes, yes indeed.
But you know what? I think a lot of people remember you as that guy who was covering the snowstorms on the overpass, the rain, the snow, the sleet, and all that, right?
Chastity, you know what? Out of all the stories I've done, and it's been thousands over the years, viewers remember that one story. That old man out there in that snow, in that rain, in those high winds, and they would say, why'd they put him out there? Put some of those young people out there.
Right. I know it.
What became famous, I guess.
But you know what? I want you to talk about this book, We're Standing By. But first, really, give people who don't know your biography, a brief synopsis, where you were born, and talk about the history that was happening around you when you were a child.
You know, as I've said this in the book too as well, I was always at the right place at the wrong time instead of the other way around.
Right.
I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I lived across the street from what they were called the Little Rock Nine. These were the first black students to integrate then Central High School in Little Rock. The one lead was the oldest one. He was a senior, Ernest Green. Mm-hmm. He lived across the street from us. So I would see the Jeeps, the tanks, the trucks to pull up and make sure they got to Central High School. His mother was my 4th grade teacher. And I also witnessed on a bus, my mother and I were going downtown, mm-hmm. and there was this black guy, and he was sitting next to, I guess he was his girlfriend. He was dark-skinned, but she was very fair complexion, but she was black. Mm-hmm. At that time, 3 white teenagers got on the bus and looked back there, because we sat in the bus, and says, what you doing with that white girl? And he says, and she said, I'm black, I'm colored at that time, I'm not white, you know. They didn't believe him. They proceeded to go back there, and they beat that guy so bad. They beat him from the back of the bus, off the bus, out onto the street. And there are other things that I've witnessed before, just being at the right place, but at the wrong time. So segregation, I knew about, I lived it. It was an ugly part of the United States history of what those students went through. And there have been other things too as well. So as Karen Dumas would say, you know, Al, you got a lot to talk about.
Right.
I said, no, I don't have nothing to do. They said, yes, you do.
But see, this is history. This isn't just stuff happening. Little Rock 9, right there across the street from you. When I was reading through the book, I found it interesting where you talked about as a teenager or as a young child seeing a teenager get shot.
Yes.
And running to it as opposed to away from it. Was that the news hound already developing in you?
It was. You know, we lived in public housing in Little Rock at that time. We were outside playing, and we saw these. They were older than we were, and they were just maybe 15, 20 feet away from us. They got into whatever. And all of a sudden, this kid pulls out a gun, and the other kid starts running, and he shoots him. Well, we're there. My friend's running out of the way. I'm running to the way to see what's going on. I had this habit of just always wanting to know what is going on. My grandmother says that Doris told my mother, that boy is going to be a lawyer or a politician because he lies a lot. Instead, I became a journalist.
Now, see, don't be saying we lie a lot. Now, what you trying to say, Alan? So at some point, you moved to Detroit and graduate from Mumford High School.
Yes, Cass Tech alumni. Yes, I did.
Okay, Mumford alumni. But back then, you got into radio.
Yes.
Before TV. A lot of people don't understand you weren't always the guy on Fox 2 in the morning on TV. Talk about how you went into radio first and what you did there, how you made the transition.
You know,
to television.
I tell interns this, and you know this industry that we're in, because you were in print and I was in broadcast. It is not easy. You knock on the door, ring the doorbell, or pick up a phone. No, they're not concerned about you. We're not hiring today. You don't have any experience. So I did. I got my start in radio. Little Rock, Arkansas at KOKY was my first radio station. I was the news director. I mopped floors. I washed windows and was on the air too as well. I worked with a guy.
Wait. You cleaned up and
oh yes, you did everything. You know, you getting your start. And I worked with a guy named Jocko Smith.
Okay.
He was nationally known because he coined the phrase soul music as dirty, filthy, black music. And everybody said it. And you know, that's what he coined, as soul music.
Wow.
So I worked with some of those. I worked at WGPR in Detroit. We came to Detroit, I worked at GPR. And I worked at JLB twice.
When it was AM.
When it was AM. Oh, don't talk about that. We laughed when they said we're going to switch from AM to FM. And we said, FM, that's not going to work. Nobody's going to listen. Well, we were wrong, you know. But I was the news director at JLB. And one of the things I had, Chastity, and it's always been a passion of me, black people not only sing and dance, they need to be informed. So I took that news department. It was a two-person rip and read. That's what you do, rip it off the wire and read it. And I turned it into a 6.5-person news department that became award-winning news department.
Well, wait, slow down. You say award-winning. You have to mention to people. I don't want to give away all the good stuff
No,
from the
that's
book,
okay.
But this right here stood out to me. You worked on a documentary about Hoffa's friend who was killed around the same time. It's not just Jimmy Hoffa that turned up dead.
It was the first, and so far I think the only inquest in the history of the state of Michigan. Otto Wendell was the Secretary of Treasury for them. He was leaving. He lived in Pinckney. He was driving out of his road there, going to work. Somebody shot and killed him. Okay, 6-7 months earlier, Jimmy Hoffa had been killed. Wow. So these were close friends. All right, and they told me, I've started doing the story. Al, be careful. You're going up to Pinckney and Howell. That's Ku Klux Klan territory. Well, as it turned out, nobody ever bothered me. I became friends with the prosecutor, as a matter of fact, who was Hispanic. And we had a good time. And I turned all I had done into a documentary. That was my first award-winning documentary. I had never done a documentary before. And now my appetite, I can do this. And people have known me. I've tried things. It's crazy. Kathy Young Welch was my assistant news director at JLB, and she said, you can't do that. I said, yes, we can. And we did. And we became an award-winning news department as a result. Because, like I said, in my mind, I guess I'm biased, prejudiced. Everybody needs to know what their neighbors are doing next door.
Well,
and I made sure they knew that.
highlights in this book. You talk about having a Christmas party, inviting Coleman A. Young. He gets there, ain't no liquor. He says some cuss words. Then, you know, you got to read the rest of the book to see what happens then. But, I mean, it's great. The people in here, Coleman A. Young, Conyers, Damon Keefe, Butch Jones, Hearns, Mahorn, Aretha Franklin. It goes on and on. James Brown, The Who, The Riot. I mean, you talk about a lot of things you were able to do. Is there anyone or anything you wanted to be a part of that you didn't or wish you still could?
You know, it's two things, and it's in the book, and I kind of brush over it. After winning the journalism award, the Robert F. Kennedy Journalism Award for Crime by Color, I got to call from CBS, the radio. They offered me a job as a weekend anchor and weekday reporter. This is a network.
Right.
Told my wife, she said, I'm not leaving. I want to stay here. So I turned it down. Oh, it gets worse. Several months later, NBC radio network calls. And I said the same thing again, and she said the same thing again. I had to turn it down. And
they couldn't have our Detroit's Al Allen.
I know, I guess so. You know, and NBC sent me this news director. It was a nice letter, but he says, in essence, nobody turns down NBC for a job. I praise you for what you did.
So what, 30 years here on TV?
Yeah,
in Detroit?
Well, it was almost 50 years altogether.
Almost 50 years. I tell you, I read the book and I thank you for it. We're standing by as a lesson in Detroit history and journalism, and thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Oh,
Everybody
Chastity,
has to read it.
It's a joy. And the biggest complaint I have, Al, it's not long enough. You got to have more, so you never know.
It's just right. It's just right.
So
Thanks,
thank
Al.
you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Just ahead, the Detroit Sports Zone honors outstanding athletes. But first, we continue with our look back at this program over the last 50 years. Here's a 1997 American Black Journal interview about stricter test requirements for student athletes.
The controversy over college-bound athletes and the SAT score dilemma. That is a situation that is complex and confusing.
No, it's not.
And many people don't really understand what's happening with that situation. Mike Stone.
Personally, I think the first time I took the SATs, because I had someplace else to go, I connected the dots and walked out. I got a 790. You get 200 points for signing your name. It's amazing to me that you can't get a 700.
What's the controversy, though, around student athletes and the SAT scores, Ike Griffin? Why is everybody up in arms about it?
Here's the controversy, and I'll do it as quick as I can. 10 years ago, when they implemented this rule inside the NCAA, they knew that immediately the focus would fall on inner city and minority students. They knew it. They knew it. Well, what started to happen within the 10 years is inner city students started to climb the hurdles, and they started to make it. Although they were still getting caught in the cracks, as they say, as Quinn says, that's their words, not mine, caught in the cracks. Something else happened. They changed the rules again. Now they changed the rules to include core subjects. Now nobody can hide. You can hide on a test, but you can't hide when you go core classes all across the board. So what happened 10 years ago when they instituted that, now the core situation comes out, core concentration, 13 core classes, 2.5, 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 4 years of science. Now it trickles out to suburbia. When it goes to suburbia, see, nobody cared when it was on Wayne County in the inner city schools that what it was saying that black students or students in the inner city are inferior, the teachers are inferior, so therefore the school system is inferior because they can't pass the test. If I've got a star athlete, am I going to take him to Detroit school system? I'm going to take him out here.
The Detroit Sports Zone was founded by former Harlem Globetrotter Ernest Wagner as a way to promote the importance of sports for young people. Each year, the organization honors outstanding athletes who attended Detroit public high schools and supporters who have made major contributions to athletics. The honorees are inducted into the Detroit Sports Zone High School Hall of Fame. In addition, 4 students will receive scholarships at this year's ceremony. Here to tell us more are Detroit Sports Zone board members, Chairman Philip Talbert, Brenda Gatlin, Michael Price, and Lavelle Perry, who is a 2017 Hall of Fame inductee.
Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good. Let me tell you what. Everyone in Detroit, or you know, who watches this show, you know, not everyone has heard of the Detroit Sports Zone. So let's just start there. Talk a little bit more about how it was founded and how do you get into this Hall of Fame, Michael?
In 2013, I was invited by Philip Talbert, by Miller London, and some other luminaries that form the board to come on to work with making sure that our history was displayed properly. Mm-hmm. There's never been a high school Hall of Fame in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And so the beginnings were humble. I can remember Gladys Bettis, Jerome Bettis' mom was on board, Baby G. Joshua, our evangelist. A couple other people were involved, but essentially a host of good people whose mind, whose love, whose spirit is all about Detroit, and in conveying our history to our young people.
Okay, so Hall of Fame, how do you get into it? You want to talk about that, Lavelle?
Well, I think there's a criteria that is being used to induct the honorees, and basically it's accomplishments and also their involvement in the community and what they have done in terms of giving back to some kind of civic organizations as well. And the panel that actually makes the selection is about a 10, 12-member panel, and it's a very, very complex, tedious type of selection process. But the members, or I should say the honorees, potential honorees, are sent into this actual group of people, and then the selection is made based on those criteria. And
so it's not just I was a great track star or I was a great basketball player. You gotta, you know, do a little more than that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Part of it is that they have to be either an All-American, they had to have exhibited some great skill sets, but also even after they've had their career, they also have to show that they have been community connected and community involved.
And also outstanding coaches are inducted.
Absolutely.
I was, and not saying any humbly, one of the first recipients of the Hall of Fame back in 2012, along with Jerome Bettis. So, right. So we also include basketball coaches or football coaches in general.
Now, I've seen a list, and some of the people on the list, though, Mike, didn't go to Detroit high schools. Am I right here?
Well, there is an award, generally the Lewis Colson Award, who was our first president who has gone to heaven, or the Chairman's Award, which features outstanding accomplishments by persons who've given a lot to Detroit and to the high schools, but not necessarily attended these schools. So they may be coaches, they may have been principals, they may have been any number of quality people, but other than that, the criteria is you attended a Detroit public school.
So, Lavelle, talk to us. Tell us, who are some of, we know Brenda Gatlin,
back
we know
in the
you.
day.
Who else are some of the people in the Hall of Fame? Just give us a little taste.
Well, we've had Wilbur McCormick was inducted in the Hall of Fame. We've had Randy Henry.
And who's Randy Henry? Not everyone knows.
Randy Henry is from Detroit McKenzie, played at Illinois State, a good friend of mine, and we've competed over the years, and has been a very good role model for youngsters in the area today. And it was a pleasure having him come in. That was before my time being involved in the organization, but Randy is truly an example of what we look for in an athlete to become a part of this organization.
Randy right now is the tallest news director in America.
And our MC, right?
All right.
This year.
And he is our MC
Our master of ceremonies.
MC for this year. So, Talbert, Mr. Talbert.
Yes, ma'am.
This is this Hall of Fame, the scholarships. It's not just, you know, sports enthusiasts getting together and working on this. There are some other collaborations that contribute to the Sports Zone.
Absolutely. We look at this event being a mechanism in which we honor our past, but we want to celebrate our future. So a part of that is building collaborations and relationships with other entities and organizations. As an entity, we've had an opportunity to work with the Quicken Loan Sports Zone that has been downtown. We had a 3-year collaboration with them. We've collaborated with the Detroit Recreation Department, but even going beyond that, we collaborate with events by having presence for the Detroit Sports Zone. There was a recent event called Motor City Muscle Rock and Roll Festival and Muscle Car Festival. We were the nonprofit partner for that event. We've been a nonprofit partner with Wayne County Parks and Rec at their Jazz on the River and their Motown on the River. So our board feels our best mechanism is to get the word out about the Detroit Sports Zone.
The Detroit Sports Zone this year is giving away scholarships, $1,000 scholarships.
Yes.
Now these students are high school students and college students.
Some of them are moving into the collegiate arena. Our first, of course, Jerome Bettis, our 2012 Hall of Fame awardee, is donating $1,000.
Gotcha.
And so his first recipient is Deneen Carter, and she's a junior going into her senior year at University of Michigan. She's vice president of the undergraduate chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So, and she is just so happy that this will take her through her senior year. We also have a young man named Deviante Dancy from Southeastern High School. One of the criteria is that they had to have at least a 3.0 or above, and each of the recipients this year are in the 3.3, 3.4 category. Deviante is continuing his education at WC3, and he wants to be an engineer. And all of these are first-generation college-bound students. Brianna Holloway from Cass Tech, Tasneem, who's going to Michigan State University, and Tasneem Sheikh is a sophomore at Oakland University. She said, look, I got a $6,000 loan.
Yes.
And she said, I'm putting this $1,000 on that loan. So each certainly are very grateful for this award.
But look, this is the Detroit Sports Zone. Mike, these aren't athletes that are getting the scholarships.
No, but once again, to whom much is given, much is required. I would dare say everyone who has come through either as an inductee or as a person on the board has been coached, has been pastored, has been taught, you know, and so the opportunity to give back is foremost in all our minds, because none of us can make it in the world by ourselves. And so as a team, we come together, and scholarships is a ship that will take these students to their end goal, which is graduation and their career choice.
Right, and not just students who are in athletics.
Not just for the, it's wide open. And we send that application out, and these young people applied, and then we determine who would best be the person to be selected for that.
Gotcha. So let's talk really quickly about the Hall of Fame, this year's Hall of Fame people. Drum roll, please.
Marquita Aldridge Woods out of Martin Luther King High School, played in the WNBA. Jim Bibbs, the first black coach at Michigan State University. Gilbert Brown, an all-state Kansas, all-academic, all-Big 8 conference, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl winning championship ring bearing.
Go ahead.
Okay. Johnny Davis, Murray Wright, all-state, all-American, voted one of the top 10 players ever in the PSL. University of Dayton, 11 years as an NBA player, and in the last 20 years, he's been a coach. David Smokey Gaines, legendary Lemoyne Owens player out of Detroit Northeastern, Harlem Globetrotter, coach at the University of Detroit, Michigan, and San Diego State. Sammy G, probably the greatest athlete in Detroit history, according to Will Robinson. Tommy Hearns, Northeastern, 8 world boxing titles, 6 different classes.
Right.
Ronnie Phillips, a principal, but initially he was a half miler at Illinois by way of Denby, and George Perlis, Western, All City, U.S. Army, Michigan State, and two-time Super Bowl winning assistant coach. And last but not least, a favorite of many, golf guru, Dr. Robert Sims.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. There you have it. Well, it takes place, what's the date? September 15th?
Saturday, September.
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Right.
And this year's event is definitely going to be a very strong event.
I bet it is.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming. That was great, and good luck. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. Go to AmericanBlackJournal.org to get more information on our guests and to check out a calendar of community events. Plus, you can always connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time.
As American Black Journal looks ahead at the next 50 years, we want to hear from you, the viewers. Tell us what you think of this program and what you'd like to see on future episodes. Visit AmericanBlackJournal.org to take a quick survey and share your opinion. Thank you.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
For nearly 100 years, Ally has been a part of Detroit, and we give back by volunteering and donating in our community. We have a commitment to diversity and increasing economic mobility in our hometown. At Ally, we're dedicated to doing it right every single day.